Welcome to the London Outlook for Tuesday, the 26th of March 2024. Starting off with the economic calendar, there's one dreadful USD news event at 4 p.m., which is an hour before the end of the London cross, at which point we'll stop trading. So what this essentially means is there's potential for a New York high of the day, low of the day based trade idea, and that will be validated dependent on what this news release is. However, having said that, if we move on to the charts, starting off with GBPUSD, we can understand that there isn't three consecutive bearish or bullish candles to induce a daily bias. So from that perspective, we'll move on to the 4-hour and understand the market structure and order flow in this time frame to make sense of the higher time frame narrative. From that perspective, we still have this unconfirmed scenario that we've been dealing with, and that's purely because from a market structure perspective, we've recently taken out the confirmed bearish market trend, created this bullish pro-trend unconfirmed leg that will be only confirmed once we body break this level. So having said that, from a 4H perspective, we understand that we're in an unconfirmed scenario, and thus we're looking for 4H OBs which will give us appropriate backing to trade towards a substructure high or low. From that perspective, we've recently interacted with the pro-trend unconfirmed OB with its objective to take out this substructure high, but that hasn't yet been achieved. We also have to keep in mind that we have this barrier to contend with as well once we reach that area. And then from a shorting perspective, we have this pro-trend previously confirmed leg, which is this right here that I've marked out, and that's the primary leg from that perspective, which is the OB associated with here. We also have the window of imbalances situated here, as well as another primary OB situated above. However, for the purposes of understanding the price action for the London session, we primarily focus on these two 4H OBs which we're trading against, or into rather, or reacting from. So from a 5-minute perspective, what is the approach? Well, simply, we're in an unconfirmed scenario. We currently have reasons to trade to the upside. We do have sufficient IRL to the upside as well. I can maybe just mark out where the last IRL point ends. So in terms of longs, this would be the last IRL point, and as you can see, it's still available for longs. And then we also have the barrier to contend with. So maybe let's start off with the long perspective. So for London particularly, we can have a Frankfurt low of the day form, something like that, then be validated by the London session. And provided we still have the Frankfurt, the Asia liquidity to the upside, we can then go ahead and take the trade with the objective of achieving a 1, 2, 3 somewhere in this area, having the IRL right here. So we know we have all of our unconfirmed scenario requirements have been met from a long perspective. However, we will need a Frankfurt low of the day to form. Alternatively, what could happen is we create a New York low of the day, and then the New York news at 4 p.m. Will be negative for the USD, thus supporting longs, and then we can potentially trade to the upside. Even if we do have, even if we are reacting to this, we can validate new IRL based on a New York low of the day, and then obviously New York news and the New York leg validation to support that order flow is indeed shifting, and then we can trade further to the upside, targeting all of this IRL. So that's the other option, which we'll chat about some more as we get closer to the New York session. Today I will do a New York outlook because there is reason for a New York high of the day or low of the day to present a trade idea. From a shorting perspective, what can happen is Frankfurt will tap into this, after which we'll have London validate this at the Frankfurt range, and then provided we have this Asia liquidity, we can then go ahead and target this area right here. We can go ahead and take the trade because we have the confluence of Asia low liquidity, and then we can look to target 70 or full ADR as we move towards the downside for this intended target right here. Obviously, there is probably going to be a barrier to contend with right at the bottom, but that is still far away, so not going to spend too much time on that. So that's GBPUSD, and then next we'll move on to EURUSD. So again, EURUSD is quite similar to GBPUSD. From a daily perspective, we don't have consecutive candles to induce a bias. From a 4H narrative perspective, again, we've recently changed character once again. So EU has been quite choppy, changing characters quite often, and that essentially means that we're still in this unconfirmed scenario with the primary unconfirmed pro-trend leg being this, and then the pro-trend previously confirmed leg being this leg right here. So currently we reacted to this pro-trend previously confirmed primary leg, and at the same time we've also developed this pro-trend unconfirmed primary leg, which is right here. Okay, and in terms of finding which way to trade, so what we can see is that price actually created a substructure high, and that was taken out today. So our only option for trading on EURUSD is to short, but we need to wait for appropriate backing from the pro-trend primary leg, which is either this window of imbalance or the 4H OB, dependent on which one is reacted to. So moving on to the 5-minute, our options are, well, just to clarify, we're in an unconfirmed scenario, so the 3 requirements need to be met. Then our options for session high of the days is either a Frankfurt high of the day or a New York high of the day. Ideally, what I'm anticipating for the London session is that Frankfurt will put in a high of the day, taking out the Asia range high. Then we have a London validation, and then we can trade based on this idea of having the Asia low liquidity and the substructure low to target. Alternatively, later in the day we can have a New York high of the day, have the New York news validate where this should hold, validate the New York leg with a change of character, and then in an ideal scenario still have the Asia liquidity, or if not, the trade is still valid and we can look to target the substructure low right here. However, things can change and we'll re-evaluate the New York approach in the New York session. So that's pretty much the Euro USD, and then next we will move on to USDCAD. Okay. So from a USDCAD perspective, a little bit simpler than the other two, where we're in a confirmed bearish market trend on USDCAD. Again, we don't have 3 consecutive bullish or bearish candles to induce a daily bias, so using the 4H to understand what's happening. So confirmed bearish market trend, and we've reached the pro-trend extreme with the pullback phase last point of supply having failed. We've got the pro-trend primary leg that we recently wicked, taking out that liquidity, and this essentially means that we only have support for shorting, right? So we only have reason to short, and thus we can move on to the 5-minute, where our interpretation is a bit simpler than the other ones. So in an ideal scenario, what I'm looking for is in the New York session we'll get in the London, in the Frankfurt Open we'll get a Frankfurt high of the day, then get a validation of that Frankfurt high through a London breaking of the Frankfurt range, something like that, and still having the Asia low to support as a confluence for why the Frankfurt high of the day should hold. Alternatively, if that doesn't play out, then the next option would be a New York high of the day, similarly to how GBPUSD and similarly to GU and EU structuring. Or a last option is we keep the Asia high of the day, and then as New York approaches, the New York news is negative. That validates why the Asia high of the day should hold, and then because we have red folder news, we can look to achieve a 1, 2, 3 target at a full ADR. So again, that remains to be seen. There's a couple of scenarios, but for the Frankfurt session, we're purely focused on a Frankfurt high of the day. That's pretty much the London outlooks, and we'll chat again for the New York outlook.